would like to say thank you for coming and thank you for exercising patience with us as we will begin this press conference at about this time. Our today's press conference is covering our observation on the voting and closing processes. And we just want to inform the media that this press conference today does not include results. Our team, our data team is still tabulating or is still receiving data from the field, and the general public in subsequent time will hear from the Liberia Elections Observation Network on that aspect of our observation. We have with us today members of our steering committee from the 4 institutions, represented by Ms. Benika Elia, from the Federation of Liberian Youth, Mr. Paulette Johnson, from the Catholic Justice and Peace Commission, Ambassador Julie Endy, from the Liberia Crusaders for Peace, and Mr. Peter B.K. Flomo, from the National Union of Organizations of the Disabled. We want to say you are all welcome. Welcome to our partners from the Swedish Embassy, UNDP, New Sierra Leone, CDD Ghana. We want to take this time to welcome every one of you. At this juncture, we'll turn over to our steering committee members who are going to be presiding over the press conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Our distinguished colleagues from the media, Leon's Election Day Observation, Voting and Closing of Polls, Situational Report. Leon applauds the Liberian people for high turnout on Elections Day and commends National Elections Commission (NEC) officials for generally performing their duties in accordance with its regularities, policies, and procedures to deliver timely presidential and legislative elections. The Liberian Elections Observation Network, LEON, provides the following statement on its initial findings during the observation of voting and the closing of the polls during the 2023 presidential and legislative elections. The observations focus primarily on adherence to the procedures stipulated by the National Elections Commission (NEC). This post-election statement follows an update Leon made this statement on its findings from the opening of polls around the country. During the 2023 national election, Leon deployed 73 long-term observers, LTOs, and 53 field coordinators to supervise and support observations from 904 short-term observers at a statistically relevant sample of designated polling places in all 73 electoral districts. The following statement provides findings from Leon's observers at polling places from the 15 counties across the country. Observations on procedures followed during the voting and closing of the polls are based on the data collected and verified as of 9 a.m. on October 11, 2023. The statement also updates Leon's made a statement on the opening of polls on October 10, 2023, and with current data in the annex. Leon's election day process data are followed by trends identified during social media monitoring and incidents reported by observers. Voting procedures. Leon observers reported the following procedural findings from the polling places observed. Notably, NEC polling place officials always adhere to the procedure in 8 categories listed below, between approximately 72% and 97% of the time. The mostly category range between approximately 1 and 17%. The range for the combined figures for procedural adherence increases to 89% to 99% of the time. The observer data indicates that NEC officials appear to understand and implement the NEC procedure during elections day at the polling places observed. Leon remains concerned that important procedural steps were observed as sometimes or never being adhered to. For example, observers reported that queue controllers did not check the valid voter cards at approximately 7% of the time. Identification officers did not take voters' name on the final registration roll at approximately 7% of the time. Ballot issuers did not explain how to cast a ballot correctly approximately 9% of the time, and the use of the tattered ballot by visually impaired voters was not explained at an alignment rate of approximately 11% of the time. Leon recommends that NEC continue to improve its screening methods and emphasize the needs of visually impaired so that they can more fully participate during elections. Key controller check voter ID card, 85.3% always, and mostly it's around 7.4. ID officer put tick to the name of the registration roll, 89% always, and for mostly 3.5%. Ballot issuers stamp the back of the ballot paper. That was done around 92.7% of the time, and mostly at 1.3%. Tactile ballot explained to blind and that's partially sighted, 77.9% always, and mostly 11.1%. Ballot box controller marked voters with indelible ink, 94.4% always, and mostly 3.1%. Secrecy of the ballot respected during voting, 93.1%, that's 93.0%, always, and 5.3% mostly. Voters left polling place after voting, 71.9% always, and 17.5% mostly. Leon observers also reported that in approximately 10% of polling places observed, individuals were allowed to vote without a valid voter card, and people were seen campaigning at polling place during the voting. Leon acknowledges that even though procedural adherence was reported approximately 90% of the time, the lack of adherence of these areas remains an important area for procedural improvement and policy enforcement. Individuals allowed to vote without valid voter cards, but they allowed, we see it's around 89.7% no, that was observed, which is positive. People campaigning at the polling place during voting, in the positive is no, is around 89.6%. Polling place running out of ballot papers during elections day, no, that's around 98.1%, which is good. Polling place ran out of indelible ink during the day, yes at 1.3%, and no at 98.7%, which is positive. Leon is also concerned that unauthorized individuals were observed at polling places. Leon calls on traditional leaders, local government officials, and candidates or party officials to adhere to the procedure of the NEC to avoid presence at polling places. Unauthorized individuals at the polling places, traditional leaders, was around 4.4% at polling places observed. Local government officials at 8.4% of polling places observed, and candidates or party officials at 8.6% of polling places observed. Leon observers also reported that the pace of voting was inefficient approximately 33% of the time, with one voter taking between 5 to 10 minutes to cast their ballots. As reported in Leon's opening of polls situational report, challenges experienced by the NEC with some polling staff not reporting to duty and issues around queue control may have contributed to slower voter processing time. Given the high turnout rate, Leon recommends NEC to expedite the processing rate during future elections events to improve efficiency. Average time to process one voter between 0 to 5 minutes, we observed was around 66.9% of the polling places observed, 5 to 10 minutes at 32.5%, and 10 plus minutes, of course, we didn't observe that. Leon commends NEC for providing a polling place layout that enabled political party and poll watchers and domestic observers to view the electoral process very well, approximately at 81% of the time, and well at approximately 17% of the time, for a notable combined rate for agents and observer access of approximately 98% of the time. Leon also commends NEC for clarifying its policy not allowing recording devices behind the voting booth to its presiding officers during the day, so that observers were able to enter the polling places with their phones and thus perform their observation duties and reporting findings. Closing of the polls. Leon observers reported that approximately 2/3 of the polling places observed closed after 6:01 p.m. due primarily to the presence of voters in the queue at the NEC official closing time of 6 p.m. When comparing the time range for closure against the number of voters in the line at 6 p.m., Leon notes that the high turnout throughout the day continued to the end of the day. Approximately 25% of the polling places closed after 7 p.m. and had more than 20 voters in the queue at approximately 30% of the polling places. Leon observers report that voters in line at the close of the polls were permitted to vote approximately 90% of the time. However, they were also denied at a concerning rate of approximately 11% of the time. Leon notes positively that NEC officials sealed ballot boxes at the end of the voting approximately 99% of the time and packed voting materials away before counting approximately 95% of the time. Overall observers' assessment. Most of the observers reporting from all 73 electoral districts assess the elections day process as very good at approximately 66% or good at approximately 30%, with a combined assessment of 96%, considering the process as good or very good. Leon commends NEC for deploying well-trained polling officials who generally adhered to the policies and procedures to deliver the national election. Social media monitoring. Leon continued social media monitoring during the immediate pre-election and election periods. Between October 9 and 10, Leon systematically collected all social media posts from over 50 political elites and influencers across 5 social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and X or Twitter. In the past 24 hours, Leon coded 253 of the 596 posts and will continue monitoring social media, providing forward Leon's initial findings for social media activity on and before election day includes. 1. In general, social media posts have been largely positive, with negative sentiments representing only a small portion of social media activity. The most common themes on social media have been to disavow violence and call on Liberians to vote and participate in peaceful and collective action. Roughly 15% of the posts quoted raised concern over election irregularities, criticizing NEC or discrediting parts of the process. However, Leon notes that the degree to which these posts were accurate or spreading disinformation is unclear. 4. Targeted and offensive speech is minor, with few political elites attacking people based on race, disability, or gender. 5. At this point of the process, only a few posts discuss public policy themes, with those discussions engaged in issues surrounding democratization, civil liberties, development, education, immigration, and public services. Political parties and their spokespersons have encouraged their supporters to vote, but Leon has not noticed significant negative content from political parties. And officials have encouraged Liberians to vote and have been largely positive. Critical incidents. Leon observers tracked several incidents during elections day. 1. The absence of networkers in the few polling places delayed the opening of polls in some instances. These were reported in Fitwa in Grand Bassa County and Benstown in Margibi County. The lack of election materials at polling precincts was reported from observation in Sino County, with reports indicating that ballot papers for 4 polling precincts were destroyed by water. 3. In the polling place at Maggie Lampkins in District Number 4, Mansourado County, a Leon observer reported that the presiding officer of the PO did not count the ballot papers as required during opening. The observer stated that the PO only assumed that ballot papers were 550. This report was repeated in polling place number 2 at the Redemption International School in District Number 7, Nimba County. In District 12, Mansourado County, observers reported that party agents interfered with the process, forcing the PO to delay the voting process. At Tyler Island District Number 5 and Peace Island Morning Public School District Number 10, Mansourado County, high tensions and some pushes and shoving among voters was reported at the entrance to the polling precinct, which were attributed to queue control issues. At Cecil High, Riverside County, observers reported on-site campaigning by supporters of candidates. Conclusion. Leon congratulates Liberians on the peaceful and high turnout during the exercise of their constitutional right to vote and participate in democracy. Leon will issue a preliminary statement on the conduct of elections that includes findings on the counting process. Leon calls on NEC to continue carrying out its professional duties efficiently and effectively during the counting and result tabulation process. Leon also calls on all political parties and stakeholders to be patient and respect the electoral process to maintain a genuine, credible, transparent, safe, and inclusive national election. Thank you, and for further information, please contact the Leon Head of Secretariat and Spokesperson, Mr. Augustine S. M. Tamba, Head of Secretariat, on 0770 40129 or 0886 468245. Or you can email info@leonobservation.org, or you can visit our website at www.leonobservation.org.
Thank you so much, members. At this time, we are open for questions, at least 3, if any.